I'm the bad guy. I'm the, I'm the, I'm the bad.
Hey everyone, welcome to Across the Gridiron. This is Eddie riding solo today. Mark is not able to join us. However, don't you worry, we've got still a packed show episode for you. So we're going to dive into rookie minicamps. Obviously, we talk about the blockbuster trade of the Dallas Cowboys. And we're going to talk about Derek Carr's retirement. We've got to touch on that as well. Then, of course, we're going to touch on the blockbuster announcement. My Dallas Cowboys are playing the Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And we're going to talk about teams that could potentially flip from last to first. So there's a lot for us to go through. Buckle in, get a snack. Let's go. Where I'm going to start, guys, it's got to be the Dallas Cowboys trade. So the Dallas Cowboys out of nowhere trade for Pittsburgh Steelers George Pickens. Now let me tell you right there, this is a statement move. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about the fact that it's the Dallas Cowboys again. Everybody gets hype about the Dallas Cowboys and then they don't actually deliver. They needed help at wide receiver. I think that was clear and obvious for everyone. And the fact that they didn't do that in the draft, it made everyone a little bit concerned. At least I was concerned as a Dallas Cowboy fan. And I was thinking to myself, are we going to do exactly what we did in 2018 when we were trying to do wide receiver by committee? And then the Dallas Cowboys came to their senses, traded for Amari Cooper, and Dak took off. And I'm getting the same kind of vibes. I know you're gonna say Cowboys, we get too excited, but it's difficult not to be. George Pickens, I remember 2023. He was playing with Kenny Pickett. 71-yard touchdown. He got the ball, yards after catch, went through a couple of defenders into the end zone, and that was Kenny Pickett. Imagine when he's playing with Dak Prescott, second in MVP voting. Dak is no scrub. I fully expect Josh Pickens to actually be good in Dallas. I think it's all going to be down to, can the Dallas Cowboys not self-sabotage themselves? We've seen this so many times. See what happened to Cook. There were games that Cook wasn't even getting a target at all. Sometimes the Cowboys can't get out of their own way. So I'm hoping that they do. But what does this mean for Dak Prescott? I think it puts a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, I've got to say. I think that now the tools are there. There's still question marks about the running game, and you do need a running game, especially in that division. Because look at what you've got to contend against. You've got Saquon Barkley in the Eagles, and you're going to see him. So I'm going to talk about that game. But I think you've got to have a running game to keep people balanced. Because if people just know that you don't have a running game, they're not going to be afraid. And listen, they're going to double cover, they're going to triple cover your wide receiver, and then you become very predictable. So we don't want that. I think that this opens up the whole playbook for Dak Prescott because people have been talking about there was a glimpses of Michael Gallup who would go up 50-50, catch the ball and come down, especially in the red zone area. And I think this opens up the play because Dallas was atrocious in the red zone, let's be honest, last season. So I think this also helps in their red zone offense. I don't know people talking about that a lot, but I think this helps the red zone for the Dallas Cowboys because now you've got options, right? You can't just pound it in, and if you get into that 5-yard line, you can have Josh Pickens. You've got Cavante Turpin, who can also make plays as well. And maybe every now and then Jalen Talbot will add in a score or two. So I think this helps the Dallas Cowboys. But I think there's a conversation for another day. We're gonna go back into it and talk more about the Dallas Cowboys. But I want to change gears very slightly now and talk about the rookie minicamps. because this is NFL's version of back to school week, right? Everyone's fresh, everyone looks great in their shorts, but there are some names that are already turning heads, right? There's reports already coming out from Browns. It'll be interesting though if they get the shout for Hard Knocks, but I think we talked about this and I don't think they're in contention. So, but it's not just Tyler Booker. Obviously, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, so I'm obviously looking at that. Kenneth Grant in Miami. Let's talk about Travis Hunter, right? Are we about to see something in the NFL that is very, very uncommon, where a player would actually play both sides of the game, which is really interesting. It does remind me of this show, All American. And those that have seen that show, Spencer James, he used to play both offense and defense. And I think that season was a while ago. So maybe that was a foreshadowing of Travis Hunter. It's a very good show. I do like the show. It's all about NFL football, especially in the college level and obviously going into the pro, which they kind of showed for a little bit of an episode. But I think it'll be exciting. I think Jacksonville Jaguars will become a team that people will love to talk about because I think everyone is going to be going in very curious about where Travis Hunter is going to play. Is he going to play in the offense? Is he going to play in the defense? Either way, you get into the news. And that's something that the Dallas Cowboys always try and do, get in the news with everything that they do. So I think Jacksonville Jaguars will probably get a little bit more airtime. I'll be interested to see when the fixture comes out, how many Jaguars games are there. Because I think that there is a few games that people are going to be curious to look at. And listen, you've got Cam Ward as well, who I hear from reports, he's looking very poised already with the huddle. But again, it's mini rookie camp. But you have to get your best foot forward, right? Even as a rookie, you don't want to be slouching in rookie minicamp, So I think that is already setting them up. And then Denver, you got Jade Barron. He's making waves in the secondary as well. And coach is already talking about instinct. So a couple of players to look at in this rookie season. And this is where it gets exciting, right? And we start to see who might actually start in week one. Now, obviously, traditionally, I've had some stats that other than first round picks, when it comes to quarterback, nobody outside of the first round pick actually starts on week one, which was something that I didn't really know about. So shout out to the guys in Fox who talked about it. But that's really interesting. It does significantly put into the level of difficulty that Shedeur Sanders has to start for the Browns. So I think that's going to be interesting. But enough of mini rookie camps. Let's talk about Derek Carr. Derek Carr has officially retired with a shoulder injury that has never healed up. It is a bit curious though, because it's a little bit early. Now, it could also be a business decision where the team has encouraged him to actually retire because I think he was earmarked to earn about 30 million this year. So I don't know who's walking away from 30 million dollars. I don't care what it is. So I'm sure he could have patched himself up to go in and play, but I think the team probably leaned on him and say, hey, listen, right, 100% fit. It's probably time to step aside. And I think they probably leaned on him. So but now the Saints are scrambling, right? They've got to be scrambling because you're thinking to yourself, well, they've got what's his name now, the quarterback that they drafted, Sharks, and they've got Spencer something. Forgotten the guy's name, forgive me. But they're gonna be thinking to themselves, why did we pass on Shador? Because that could potentially have been a quarterback with upside, charisma, and NFL DNA, right? Now they've got a room of untested QBs. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Kellen Moore, right? I'm wondering, whether they're setting him up for a failure because that for me just sounds a little bit dubious, right? That you're really, for a first time head coach, you're starting without a proven quarterback. That is like all kinds of dysfunction for me. And I hope for Kellen Moore's sake that he gets a chance to get through the season and potentially gets to get a quarterback that he wants. But yeah, there were a lot of quarterback options that they had, and maybe they might be tanking, right? They might be low-key tanking to get Archie Manning. But I don't know how that helps Kellen Moore because you know how the NFL is. Like they say, NFL means not for long, even for coaches. So if you go and get embarrassed by a team, get tongued 40 to something, 30 to 3 or something like that, people are going to start calling for your head. So yeah, it's a very, very tough one for Kellen Moore and for the Saints as well. So if you look at quarterbacks that have had to step aside because of injury, obviously for Dallas Cowboys, famous one is Tony Romo. But you've got to think about Andrew Luck as well. He also stepped away because of injury. And then now Carr. So listen, I think the Saints are in a very, very tough spot. Very tough spot. Okay, all right, let's break down who's got juice in the NFL. Um, Now, we did talk about the fact that we're going to be looking at the divisions and we're going to be doing a little bit of a profile of all the different divisions in the NFL. So, and today we're going to start with the East, right? AFC East and the NFC East, of course, because Dallas Cowboys in there. So we're going to start with Dallas Cowboys. Now, who's the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the division? So let's start with the NFC, right? Okay. So best duo, right? And I know everyone is going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. And yes, Jalen Hurts has just won a Super Bowl, so gotta give respect to him. And then you've got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. So you could argue that they're probably number one, right, in the NFC is. But I'll say they are 1A, right? And I think that now with Josh Pickens going to the Dallas Cowboys, I think you've got to say that the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott and CD, who I think is a better receiver than AJ Brown. I know. Let me know in the comment section what you think. But I think that CD Lamb is a better receiver than AJ Brown. And so if you've got CD Lamb there, you've got George Pickens, and then you've got Dak Prescott. I think that's a 1A, 1B combination. Then you've got Jaden Daniels, you've got Debo Samuels, and you've got Scary Terry McLaurin. Very good. I like McLaurin. He's a good wide receiver. I wish he was a receiver that we could have in the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't know where Debo Samuel is going to be. I don't know where he is in terms of his health. What he did in the 49ers, he could do everything, catch, run, all of that. But I don't know what he's like. So I really can't say that duo is better than, what you've got in the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles. And I don't know. I don't know whether we should even talk about the Giants at all, right? Because, you've got Russell Wilson there, you've got Jameis Winston there, and then you've got Jackson Dart as the quarterback there. Yeah, so there's a lot of intrigue there, but where I'm going is the Dallas Cowboys and then it's the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's go to the AFC East, right? I think you look at the Jets, no Brees Hall there anymore. So the backfield isn't quite the same. Then you've got Miami still stacked. You've got Jalen Waddle there. You've got Tyreek Hill as well. And then you look at the Patriots, you got Drake May there. Not quite sure about the wide receivers. So for me, you've got to look at Tua. I think Tua, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill, I think they form the best pairing in that Miami team. Then maybe you might look at Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen probably elevates the wide receivers that they have there. But I think that the jury's still out about the Bills in terms of the wide receiver. Now you're going to always tip them because of the quarterback. But I think it's the Dolphins best duo there, and then maybe you can say you got the Bills in there. Not quite sure what's going to be happening with the Jets. They need a quarterback, and not sure what's happening with Patriots. So I think for me, I would go Dolphins, then I would go Bills. And who do I think is going to flip, positions from last to first? Now, I remember Cincinnati did this when Joe Burrow went to them. They completely flipped the scripts and they went from a team that was downright out ridiculously bad to a team that went to the Super Bowl. So obviously, the easy answer is to look at the Titans, right? They picked number one overall. And they had a lot of close games, you've got to say, and their division is not too bad. So if you look at that division, you're thinking to yourself, I think the Titans can make some noise, right? With all the things that I'm hearing about Cam Ward in the way that he's starting his life in the NFL, you've got a few disciplinary issues as well in some games last season. You fix that, and then you change some of those one-score games into victories. They could be making some noise. And teams can catch fire and get hot. I think the Titans could be one of those teams this season. So something to look out for, because those things swings, big time. Sometimes just one player or one draft class just flips the whole culture going on in the Titans. Now, before we wrap up, right? Because obviously I'm alone today, so this is not going to be a long one, but hopefully, guys, you guys are enjoying so far the conversation. Um, Before we wrap this one up, we've got to talk about what the NFL has just done. They've just released the Week 1 opening game, and it's the Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how to feel about this game. I really don't. Um, I know when Matt was here, we are talking about the games that we're going to potentially be the ones to look out for. What do we want in the Week 1 start? And I talked about Dak Prescott going against Jaden Daniels because I wanted a division rival. And it seems like the NFL are potentially going to do that because I hear that, the other games are going to be division rivalry type games. But let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Something about this smells of Jerry Jones. I think Jerry Jones is like the Eagles won the Super Bowl. How good would it be for the Dallas Cowboys on opening night to put the Eagles back in their place? Right? I know what you're gonna say. They've already won the Super Bowl. There's nothing anyone can do about that. But just imagine the Dallas Cowboys just go and they smack the Eagles, right? In that first game. And the Dallas Cowboys tend to play very well in their first games, at least recently. So sometimes they run up the score in that first game. And then you start to have hope and think the rest of the season is gonna be like that. But this is Dak Prescott, this is Jalen Hurts. What I feel about Jalen Hurts, when we start talking about the quarterbacks in the NFC East, there's a lot of people that are going to say that Jalen Hurts is the better quarterback. Hard to argue. The guy's got a Super Bowl ring and an MVP. But I just feel that sometimes the best quarterback doesn't always win the Super Bowl. I think history has a lot of records to show that that's always the case. Now we know that guy over in Kansas City Chief, he's the best and he always gets to the Super Bowl. But other than him, I just don't think that it does necessarily mean that the best quarterback always goes to the Super Bowl. So there's a lot about how your team is. You can't do it by yourself, right? You need somebody to throw the ball to. And if you're a quarterback and you've got one player literally to throw the ball to, you can't do much. And you just need to look at all the successful teams. They've had offensive weapons and offensive options. Look at the Eagles just last year. Had Saquon Barkley running like he's crazy in every game. 100 yards, 200 yards sometimes. Jalen Hurts doesn't even need to throw, for up to 200 yards in some games because Saquon Barkley is just doing ridiculous. And then A lot of times I see AJ Brown saving his quarterback, making catches that you're thinking to myself, how the heck did he make that catch? I'm not saying that Hurts is not a good quarterback, but I still feel that I would take Dak Prescott. And everyone keeps saying that Dak Prescott doesn't perform in the postseason. That's fair because until you do it, that will always be the criticism. And it is frustrating how in some games he doesn't really play well. But I think there's a lot more than just getting into the playoffs and not playing well. I think it's a combination of coaching. Sometimes very frustrated about the Dallas Cowboys play calling. And I know Matt will be thinking, oh, Eddie's going on a rant now. But sometimes the play calling is ridiculous. Sometimes you see the Dallas Cowboys do run, 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 and then have to punt. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on, right? Why aren't you even trying anything? For a long time, we used to talk about the Dallas Cowboys that they never had motion at all in their offense. They just line up and they play. I remember this game a couple of years ago where we played the Sean McVay team, the LA Rams. And oh my goodness, we just couldn't stop them. They were just doing motion all over every single play. We were absolutely just looking like we were dumbfounded. And that was the game, that running back. What's his name now? I know he's out of the league because after that year, I think he just ran himself to the ground and nobody saw him anymore. But yeah, he absolutely ran us ragged. And the Dallas Cowboys notoriously have always been susceptible to the run. Teams that can do it very well against the Dallas Cowboys always tend to win. And now we've got a team coming in the first game that has got a bona fide superstar when it comes to running the ball, Saquon Barkley. Now I'm gonna hope that Saquon Barkley really has run all that he could in last season, right? I know I'm hoping that. But he's gonna get his, right? Saquon Barkley is gonna get his. He's gonna get the touches. He's gonna get the yards. So you just gotta deal with that. But Jalen Hurts cannot beat us. We've got to make sure that this game is competitive. And oh, it would be so sweet if the Dallas Cowboys win against the Eagles at the Eagles because we know what's going to happen when they come over to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. I think maybe further down the line in the season, I think we can take that game. So I know the Eagles has got momentum, they've got the swagger, but Dak's going to be coming pissed. He went off injured last season. There's all this talk about him and pressure and all of that. But I think this could be a game that the Dallas Cowboys punch back. I think we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Um, and listen, the NFL schedule, the rest of the schedule will be dropping on Wednesday. You're probably going to be watching this as well. So we're going to break into the games next week. We're going to look at it and we'll talk about what we think are our favorite games. What are the games that's going to produce the most points? We'll probably even talk about who potentially will be an upset in week one. So you want to stay tuned for that. Come back to Across the Gridiron and watch us break that down. And that's a wrap on this week's Across the Gridiron. So we talked about a number of things, but if you particularly enjoyed this episode, hit that like and subscribe button. And of course, let me know in the comment section what you think about what I've said today. Tell me which team has the biggest glow up going into 2025. It's Eddie holding it down for Matt. Matt's out. And hey, the season is beginning to heat up. We can't wait to hear what's going to be the next schedule. Of course, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I am looking forward, and you've circled that in my calendar, the Eagles against the Cowboys. But we're going to break down the different fixtures next week and let us know, right? We appreciate all your comments. Hit that like and subscribe button. And remember, stay gridiron, and I'll catch you all next week.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the